Our first group will be for the candidates for Marysville City Council, Ward 1. So if Josh, Scott, and Scott will please come up. Not proper.
I'm sorry. Why?
Oh, I haven't seen you before. Sorry. Okay. As I said, each of you will have 4 minutes to introduce yourself to the audience and make any opening statements you'd like. And Josh, you're going to go first, and this will be in alphabetical order. So,
Sounds
Josh.
great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Bokar. It's a hard pronunciation, Hungarian. So I get that name through 2 adoptions. I was adopted by my dad, and he was adopted by his parents. There's 13 of us in the U.S., and 4 of them live here in Marysville. My wife, Lauren, of 8 years, she's here with me tonight, and then our 2 children, Matthew and Annabelle. Matthew's 7, and Annabelle, she'll be 5 next week. So I'm from Akron, Ohio. Born and raised, went to high school, Field High School just south of Kent State, lived in a small township of roughly 2,000 people. So I grew up in the city and then moved to the country for high school. After high school, graduated from the University of Akron. I majored in political science with a track in criminal justice. I was a member of the ROTC program, and I enlisted in the Ohio National Guard October 12th of 2006. So just 2 weeks ago, I celebrated 13 years in service. Through my service, I served in Afghanistan and Kosovo. I was awarded the Bronze Star Medal and the General George C. Marshall Leadership Award when I graduated #1 from my ROTC program. After college, I went to Chemical Bullock, so I'm a brigade chemical officer, specialized in chemical defense with the military. And then I started a job down here in Lancaster, down here from Akron, as an environmental health and safety manager. I was only able to do that for about a year, and that's when I was called to my first tour of Afghanistan. Upon returning from Afghanistan, I worked for McMaster-Carr Industrial Supply, doing shipping and receiving, and then I left there to work for a company called Select Staffing. For about 2 years, I was an on-site temporary staffing manager at a company called Allside Windows in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, and then Rubbermaid in Mogador. So I managed a temporary staffing force, about 500 employees, and then I had 4 direct recruiters that worked for myself. I left there to go to Kosovo, where I was the chief of current operations for multinational battle group East. It was a 900 strong force with soldiers from Hungary, Poland, Italy, and the U.S. of course. So on my staff, I had 13, and I had a Polish officer that worked for me and 2 Hungarians as well. So I returned from Kosovo, and I was blessed to get a full-time job at my current job with the Ohio National Guard, where I'm the program coordinator for the resilience, risk reduction, and suicide prevention programs. I've been doing that for a little over 2 years. So we moved from Akron down here to Central Ohio, and one of the soldiers that works for me, she lives here in Marysville in Mill Valley, and she said it's a great place, it's a great hometown, it's a great place for the kids to grow up in. So we moved here in May of 2018 and hit the ground running. My son, he goes to Northwood Elementary, and my daughter, she'll be going there next fall, Lord willing. So since I've moved here, fell in love with the city, obviously. I felt a deep connection. I've heard great things. And what really encouraged us to move was the strong sense of community pride, which we love, the excellent schools, and most importantly, the safe neighborhoods. I've never heard a bad thing about any of the neighborhoods or the crime here in Marysville. I found the neighbors to be more than welcoming, and it's just a great area with plenty of opportunity for myself and my family. So I took an interest in local politics, again, being a political science major in college. Regularly attended just about all the city council meetings this year, except for when I was away for annual training. And then I took it one step further, and I've been attending the committee meetings, Finance, Parks and Recreation, and Public and Safety and Service, where I've developed a great working relationship with other council members and city administration. 4 minutes? 20 seconds? So, thank you for having me this evening. Thank you everyone for coming, and I look forward to the question and answer section.
Scott, Rob.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Union County Chamber of Commerce, for putting this event on tonight, and Union Rural Electric for hosting us this evening. I'd also like to thank my fellow candidates and each one of you in the audience tonight. My wife and I moved to Marysville, specifically in Ward 1, in 2003, and quickly fell in love with the community. I care deeply about Marysville and want to assure that we are still a great community for my children to raise their families. I've been a public servant for over 20 years and feel no greater joy than giving back to my own community. In my career, I have held multiple leadership positions on the local and state levels. I've been the Chief Information Officer of the State of Ohio's Economic Development Agency since 2012. I was also the Chief Information Officer for the Ohio Department of Commerce, the IT Director for the City of Marysville, and held many positions for the cities of Westerville and Dublin. In these roles, I've created and managed multi-million dollar budgets, led large groups of employees, and developed and implemented large-scale strategic changes. Additionally, I've been very involved in our community by serving as Vice Chairman of the Delaware, Madison, and Union County Community Action Agencies. I was a founding member of the Union County Young Professionals Organization, and also a founding member of the Union County Council of Governments. As your councilman, I've been very busy representing you and the City of Marysville's interests on multiple committees and boards. I'm a member of the Safety Services Committee, where we review infrastructure-related items and the needs of our police and fire departments. I've also attended every monthly business impact breakfast meeting, helping to further the strong relationships I have with our business community and our regional public and private partners. Additionally, I attend every Northwest 33 Corridor Group and Innovation Corridor Council of Governments meetings, where I help to drive policy that will best put Marysville in position to capitalize on our economic growth. Once a hidden gem, Marysville is now a center for growth, and that can be scary, particularly for a community like ours that values its unique small-town charm. It's imperative that we have leaders with the experience and vision like myself to guide this progress. Growing our city in a smart, planned, and strategic fashion while respecting our heritage will keep Marysville a great place for generations to come. In order to promote and control this smart growth, I believe we need to diversify our residential development and ultimately our workforce, attracting retirees, empty nesters, young professionals, and families. This diversification will help drive our economic prosperity and attracting high-paying jobs. Make no mistake, for us to stay ahead of this residential growth, it's imperative that our business growth keeps pace. Marysville is in the heart of the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor, uniquely positioning us to be a leader in advanced automotive and next-generation technology. In conjunction with the 33 Smart Corridor, connected Marysville will make us the first fully connected city in the world, Marysville, Ohio. Based on these initiatives, our location in the corridor with surrounding companies like Honda, TRC, and others, advanced automotive and next-generation technology businesses are already taking a long look at Marysville. A deciding factor for many of these businesses, small and large, is the makeup of our city council, of the city leadership. As the Chief Information Officer for the state's Economic Development Agency, I understand business, I understand economic development, and the importance of staying agile with our economic tools. Perhaps more important, though, is the spirit of collaboration. Long time ago, Marysville often made decisions and operated autonomously. That approach is no longer an option. Nearly everything we do has an impact on our region and our regional partners. It's paramount that city council members form and build relationships with each other, our business community, and surrounding government bodies. I have those relationships now and will continue to foster a positive, collaborative approach to leadership.
Scott?
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, Union Rural Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Had to throw that in there for those who know me know why I threw that in there. We won't get into that right now. My name is Scott Swizinski. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I was a Browns fan when it was cool during the Bernie Kosar days. I was a Browns fan when it wasn't cool over the other 37 quarterbacks. And I was a Browns fan when it was pseudo-cool as of right now. So I'm going to get that out of the way, so don't worry about those questions. I moved down to Marysville after obtaining a degree in political science from Cleveland State University. My wife and I had our first home built down here in 2003 in Ward 1, very much like Mr. Brock. That was, as I told my wife Amy, who's here with me this evening, and I appreciate her taking time out of her busy schedule. You know, I told her, this is great, this community's growing, this will be our 5-year home, it'll be fantastic, we'll make a bundle of money and we'll move to the kingdom, wherever that was. We were in that house 15 years, realized we were pretty much in the kingdom in Mill Valley and Ward 1 because we absolutely fell in love with the city, the people, we made great friends, had great opportunities. Now own my second home. We did move out of the Bay Laurel area, I will admit that. But it was so important to us to stay in the Mill Valley area because we love the community, the small town feel, the safe streets, that we bought a home and paid hundreds of dollars for 2 big, large college men to move me a mile down the road because I was not doing it. But it was important. We had roots here. We've made friends. People that I would consider family. I've celebrated holidays with a lot of these people. Around the time of 2010, I started to ask questions and get involved with things. At that time, I was asked to join the Parks and Recs Commission, which I did, and I enjoyed it. What I found is I love being involved. I love giving back to the community. I love feeling like I'm helping people or improving things. During that time, I was asked to join the Board of Zoning Appeals. It was about 1.5 years, 2 years later, which I gladly did. I've loved my experience on the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's given me a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of different people. I've been asked twice to chair that board. If you ask me, it's because nobody else wants to, and I'm crazy enough to do it, so I do it. But I've loved it. It's given me the opportunity to work with homeowners throughout the city of Marysville to make home improvements, guiding them through various zoning variances and issues that they have. It's given me the opportunity to work with businesses to make improvements and grow, doing the same thing. And it's given me the opportunity to work with new businesses and developments to come to Marysville that have zoning issues, kind of ask some questions and get them through that. Up until just recently, I served on the Mental Health Recovery Board of Union County, a board which I chaired as well, a board I'm very passionate about. It's some of the things I do in my professional life. I currently work at the West Central Community Correctional Facility. I'm the court services coordinator out there, which is just a fancy word for, I get yelled at by a lot of judges on a regular basis because I don't have enough beds to fill their people with. So, no, in all honesty, I oversee all intakes and admission, and I see, more importantly, all reentry services out there. So I get the opportunity to get them into a program to keep them out of prison and out of jails and get treatment and help to make their lives better. And then I get to link them with future services when they get out. So it's something I'm very proud of that I do, something that I very much enjoy doing. That's just another way I love to give back. I'm about 6.5 weeks away from completing my master's in criminal justice administration. So the first week of December, when you get the nixle of Crazy Man running down Main Street, it's probably me celebrating the completion of my master's. And let me tell you, going back to do a master's when you have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old and a wife and a career and you're involved in different activities, it was a lot harder than I thought it was. There was a period of time where I didn't see daylight. I'm okay with that. It was a choice that I made. I do believe in strong growth in Marysville. I believe that it's key to the development, it's key to increasing income tax revenue, and using that revenue to improve services, infrastructure, and other things. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for your 4-minute intro. Now, I'll ask the audience if you have some questions pertaining to Ward 1 and candidates in Ward 1. We'll go ahead and start. Basically, what will happen is a question you will get 2 minutes to answer. Scott, you will be first. Scott, Josh, you'll be first. Scott, you'll be second. Scott, you'll be third. In the second, round, Scott Z will be first. Josh, you'll be second, and Scott, you'll be third, and so on and so forth. So, do we have any questions? We'll pass them up. Okay. Well, it just so happens I have questions.
So we did a great job. Good job.
Yep.
Okay, and this question is they're always directed at all of you. Okay, so let's start with, if you're successful in your bid, what are your thoughts about economic development and business growth? Josh, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Awesome. So the key to any strong city is jobs. And to have jobs, you need the people, right? It's a delicate balance. working with council and members of the city administration, we've heard jobs want to come here, but there's not the workforce here yet. So it's a delicate balance. I think we do that most through our planning and zoning. I reviewed the new zoning code. That was for public review 2 weeks ago. I think it's a step in the right direction to set the conditions for economic growth in the area. I also supported city council in the implementation of a tax abatement along the industrial parkway. So that is a community reinvestment area, tax abatement, and it varies for the type of business, but up to 10 years, 100% for manufacturing to move in. I think that's key to the city's growth. And with that, if developers see business moving in, they'll look more to develop. We don't have a lot of big developments going on right now. Mill Valley's closed out, Adena Point's getting ready to close out, and the only developers looking to here are building apartments. So I would love to see more single-family homes. I think we can work with the zoning variances to work on lot sizes to bring down the cost of those single-family homes as well.
All right. Scott Brock, same question as you.
Sure. So everything that we do in our community in the city of Marysville, it's important to understand that this is one large ecosystem and that it's very difficult to do one thing without affecting things downstream. And so having a holistic view as a city councilman of what we're doing and how that affects not just city government, but also our regional partners. And a long time ago, as I mentioned, Marysville was able to operate autonomously and made a lot of decisions autonomously, and that just simply isn't the case anymore. Everything that we do, every decision that we make affects the entire region, none bigger than economic development. And I'll respectfully disagree with Josh. I think that when developers are coming and businesses are coming to look at the city of Marysville, one of the first questions they always ask is, what does your workforce look like? The last 20 years, the city of Marysville has developed primarily nothing but single-family homes, which was great for the market at that time, but what that did is that did not create a diverse workforce. So what we're trying to do now in City Council is we're trying to approve some apartments, we're trying to approve some condos, we're trying to attract a diversity in our community and a diversity in our workforce so that when businesses show up, we're able to say, what does our workforce look like? Well, here you go. We have millennials, we have young professionals, and we have empty nesters, we have seniors, we also have families because we have single-family homes. A great example of that is a development that we just approved behind Meyer. Now that is right beside, folks, our Innovation Park. As businesses are coming and looking at Innovation Park, what we're trying to do is say, our workforce, absolutely. We have a multifamily use development that is right beside Innovation Park. You want workforce? Right there it is. We've approved rezonings recently to bring in more apartments and condos. The city has not developed any apartments for over 20 years. And while we need to keep an eye on that, and while we need to make sure that we're not getting apartment heavy, that we're probably staying under that 30% mark, we're doing, I think, what we should in terms of diversifying our workforce.
Scott?
Give him a second to reset his time.
You're saying he's not very.
So I was going to say, hey, you know what? I've dealt with those timers. I had 3 alarms set one night for the same time, and it wasn't the time I needed to get up. So I understand those timers.
Give me a go sign.
It's, no. No, in all honesty, I agree with both the gentlemen sitting to my right here. The development is key. You've heard a lot about diversification, and I think that's key as well. You need a diverse workforce, excuse me. I have to apologize. This kind of hit me this morning, so I'm dealing with a little cold, so if I sound a little off, that's why. But anyways, diverse workforce is very important, but in order to have that, you have to have diverse businesses as well. There's great automotive presence out here, and I think it's fantastic, and I would never downplay what they've done for our community. But not everybody wants to work in automotive, I found. So you have to find other ways to bring different businesses to Innovation Park. You have to bring some logistics and shipping. You know, we're in a great corridor where you know, if you look at FedEx, we could do something along those lines, hopefully to that magnitude. I didn't say Amazon, but I don't want that rumor to start. But those are the kinds of things, you know, you get some light manufacturing down in that area. You stretch your legs a little bit. You go down Industrial Parkway going towards Plain City and going towards Jerome Township. and you put some of that in there. You can put small tech companies that could help with the Smart 33 corridor down there. Now, not only are you diversifying your business, you're able to diversify your workforce, and all the multifamily unit homes that have been approved through the PUDs over the last several months will be a lot easier to fill. You know, I want to see jobs come where people go, hey, you know, they start off going, I don't mind driving 25 minutes to Marysville. It's not that bad of a drive. I got a good job out there. And then they go, wow, that's a nice apartment. Hey, I could cut down my commute and move to that apartment. You know, now you've diversified both. You've filled the apartments, the townhouses, the condos. You've got good jobs out here. You've got people making a good livable wage, something that they can spend lots of time on, be proud of doing. And you get people that are continuing helping out other services, you know, whether it's income tax revenue or stormwater, wastewater, things like that. So that development is key. I can create a job in my basement for somebody to, you know, bottle cap soda bottles. But it's, you know, I want to see good, strong, solid, sustainable jobs come out. Thank you.
Scott, since you were last, you will be first on the next question.
Okay.
You'll probably hear somewhat of a theme in these questions, all right?
Economic development.
No, this one.
Ah.
If elected, would you be open to more multifamily housing, or would you like to slow this type of growth?
Well, I think that's a great question, you know, and right now, I believe I've heard a number of somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 multifamily units that are in the works in Marysville, and I think that's fantastic. And I think there's some great developers that are looking to build out here and come out here, and I think that's fantastic as well, because I like the idea of empty nesters, and I like the idea of millennials, because those are two of the largest groups in the country right now that seem to have disposable income. People with disposable income shop out here. They go out to eat out here. So I think that's great. I think we do have to continue to look at that once we start building out some businesses and some industry. But I think we also have to look at some middle income and some lower income family as well, and what we can do to accommodate that. You'll hear a lot tonight, and you've probably heard too much over the past several weeks about balanced growth, right? To me, that's part of balanced growth. You bring in a townhome that's $1,400, you've got to find a place to put one that's half that price, so the single mom supporting 2 kids can live effectively and have a nice place to live. Now, that's key, right? The nice place to live. I could throw up a couple sheds in my backyard. I don't know if it's zoned for it. Is anybody on the zoning? No. You know, I mean, but I could throw up a couple of sheds in my backyard and call them apartments and, you know, have people sleep on air mattresses. So you've got to work to bring that balance. Get some more jobs out here, start to fill the multifamily units that are currently out here, then continue to work with those same developers or other developers or some of the current apartments that we have to build middle incomes for single moms, for, you know, people who are making lower incomes. So it's got to be a delicate balance, but there's always a little bit room to bring that. You've got the high end, let's bring some of the middle end here as well, so all people can live here and enjoy the benefits of Marysville.
All right. Scott?
Yep. So this is what we just touched on here a minute ago in terms of diversifying our housing development and in turn diversifying the workforce. And I think it's important to point out that Marysville is a super popular place right now. Folks, people are wanting to move here from all over the place. It's not just Southern Union County that's growing. It's the city of Marysville that's growing. And if we are going to keep pace with that, we absolutely have to understand that economic development drives that. Economic development is the engine that drives every community. So while we are diversifying our residential homes with multifamily, which is ultimately diversifying our workforce, we need to make sure that those businesses are coming. Where those businesses are coming from is what's key. Right now, the city of Marysville, over the next few years, are going to be faced with decisions that are going to have a lasting impact on our community. Generational impacts on our community. Impacts like Honda locating here 40 years ago. Marysville sits right now in the heart of the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor, and there are companies across the globe, ladies and gentlemen, that are looking at the city of Marysville. Marysville is about to become the first city in the world to be a fully connected city. That is enormous. Capitalizing on that, capitalizing on the businesses that are looking at potentially coming here is absolutely key. It's absolutely key. So we're doing the right things right now by diversifying our homes, by diversifying our workforce. We need to make sure that we're paying strong attention to the economic development that needs to come with that.
All right. And Josh?
So more multifamily. For me, I know the right answer, what everyone wants to hear, but my answer is no. I'm a millennial, right? I hate to admit it sometimes. 32. So I fall in that category, and they keep moving it to the left. But so I was born in '87. I bought my first house when I was 25. I own my second house now. I still own my first house. I rented to my sister-in-law. Again, the reason I moved to Marysville, again, was for the neighborhoods, the strong sense of community pride. I've lived in multifamily homes. I've lived in apartments, and you lose a lot of that. I think we have what Mr. Zawinski said, 1,500 to 2,000 units already developed or already planned on coming in. What that also equals is 2,000 more cars on our roads. Coleman's Crossing is already a nightmare trying to make a left out of Walmart there. So I think there needs to be some more forward thought in the planning of our city infrastructure before we go up beyond the 2,000 we come. I completely agree with Mr. Brock with diverse housing options for a diverse working force. But what I am more concerned with, in addition to that, is what Mr. Zawinski said. Keep calling you both Scotts.
What Scott is he talking
Well, what the other Scott said is we're running into an affordability issue. And what I'm not saying is throw up Section 8 homes or government subsidized homes. What I'm saying is when I responded at the end of my first question is working with developers for zoning variances. This is something JR and I have gone back and forth with, and he sits on is it a task force or a working group with the county to talk about this? And one of the possible solutions they come up with is to approve shorter setbacks and smaller lot sizes for maybe a one-bedroom or two-bedroom single-family home. No, not everything has to be like it is in Mill Valley, where it's 5 bedrooms and 4 baths and 4-car garages. But we can certainly continue our growth with well-planned neighborhoods and safe communities in that regard.
Okay. Well, you're good.
Right on the money.
All right. Gentlemen, this will be the last question for Ward 1. And Scott Brock, we'll start with you. With all the growth that has happened recently and planned, what are your thoughts on planning for emergency services?
Great question. I'm
Sure
really glad
is.
that you asked that question. As we attract all of the residential growth, and we've talked about making sure that our business growth is not being far outpaced by that residential growth. The one thing that we talk about in council a lot is with that residential growth, we have to supply more services. Rarely does residential development pay for itself. We need to understand that. You need economic development and business growth to pay for that. But you also need to consider, as a city, our job is to provide services. It's what we do. We're a service provider. The more homes that we have here, the more apartments that we have here, the more hotels that we have here, the thinner our safety services are spread. Our fire departments, our police forces, our engineering department, our planning and zoning, the services that we offer get spread more thin. So we need to make sure that we're taking those additional monies that we get in from economic development growth and making sure that particularly our safety services are funded the way they should be. The experience that I used to work with the city of Marysville, and I was the IT director, so I was a service provider to all of those departments and divisions. I worked firsthand with our police department and our fire department. I know their operations, I know their needs, I know where they're thin and where they're not. A good example of this is recently we promoted one of our police officers to be a new school resource officer in the STEM school. The question that I asked when that was brought up is, I think that's great, but we need to make sure that that position is filled on the street. We can't take an officer off the street, a patrol officer off the street, and not fill that. But that also means that we are growing our police force. And that's exactly what happens when your community grows. Our community is going to continue to grow. We need to understand that our safety services are going to continue to grow. And those, in my opinion, those are number one priority. Number one priority of a city council is to make sure that our community is safe. Number one priority, always has to be. Our community is currently safe, but sometimes we take that for granted. Sometimes we think, we don't need to put extra money towards that budget because there's no crime here. The moment you do that is the moment crime comes.
Scott Zawinski, same question to you.
Well, I agree a lot with what Mr. Brock said, that, those are very important services. We need to provide them. We need to keep cities safe. We need to keep cats out of trees and fires from happening and things like that. And that really is the best way to do it. The more businesses, the more people you have You know, people working here, people living here, more income tax revenue is created, right? We can sit and say, we have to grow our police force, we have to grow our fire department, and we have to do it, and instead of saying, hey, guess what? I'm gonna come to you guys and bring another 0.25% to the income tax rate. Not saying that the city would do that, but sometimes when you get in situations, you have to, right? You have to look at how do I get more revenue. I don't want to increase taxes, not that I don't want to fund fire and police departments and things like that, because I live in the same place you guys do. If I increase them, I pay them as well. I like my money. I got teenagers. They cost a lot. But, you know, the best way to do that is by the economic development, increasing your workforce. Businesses, industries are out here. You can take a pool of that money and dedicate it to growth, to the growth of those forces, and improve training and things like that. They can also go and look after grants on the state level and the federal level. You know, there's no reason why the city and the forces, and I'm sure they do an amazing job. I don't get invited to those meetings where they talk about that for some reason, where they can't figure out why. But where they, you know, where they can go after grants to help for certain training or certain officers or vehicles. I've sat through council meetings where they've talked about it, and that has happened, and there's no reason to continue to do that. Grants are a wonderful thing. It's free money. I mean, in a relative sense, I mean, we pay for it somewhere, but it's kind of free money, right? So you take the combination of looking at some of this growth and this development, these houses and people coming out here, and you're saying, hey, I've got this pool of money, so I can add 2 more officers. I can add someone, you know, 2 more people on shift on the fire department. We can keep things safe. We can take some grant money and develop education programs where, you know, you're doing, you know, drug education, street smarts, things like that. You can continue to help promote things like the flashlight walk, like we've done for many years with the neighborhood watch, which I'm a part of as well. So that's really key. More money, better services.
All right, and Josh, same question to you.
I promise I was not texting, I was taking notes. Again, I'm a millennial, just do everything digital. I think this is an excellent question. And I learned something a little scary Monday night. I was at the Finance Committee meeting, and we were talking about personnel budget requests. That's where the city administration sits down with the 3 council members to sit on the committee and talk about what are we going to fund for next year. And I had a great dialogue with Chief Riley. And he was asking for 3 promotions to lieutenants, because currently there's a lack of leadership in the fire department due to when the leadership has off. And then he's also asking for 3 more EMTs. And he hit us with a startling fact. In the last month or so, there's 33 calls that went unsupported by Marysville PD, or fire department. They were supported by our surrounding neighborhoods. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but that was an average of 13 minutes response time. So 33 calls just in the last time. So the 3 more EMTs you're asking for is a cost of $177,000. There was about $112,000 in the budget to play with. But there's hidden things in the budget. There's a request currently in the budget for a $300,000 security upgrade to the customer service desk. Still looking for into that. This affects us all, right? I have 2 young kids. Literally our first month here, we called the fire department. We had a funny smell. The heater didn't even kick on, but we smelled something burning. They were there in less than 3 minutes and provided great services for us. So that's something I'm deeply concerned about. And I promise you this, even if I'm not elected, I'm still going to attend the public safety and service meetings and the finance committee meetings, and I encourage all residents to attend. It's not like council meetings are very regulated and formulated, but these committee meetings, just me as an average citizen, not even as a candidate, I get time to talk and dialogue and help make decisions. I remember Mr. Taylor asked my opinion on the city council pay raises over the summer. So I would encourage all residents to attend those, and if not elected, I will still work those issues.
All right, gentlemen, that is the amount of time we've allotted for the Ward 1 discussion.